I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Silly Jedi, silly Jedi.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
Hello, what have we here?
Hello there.
At last! Where have you been?
Nice of you guys to drop by.
Ah, good. New acquisitions.
I don't know. I have a bad feeling about this.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Star Wars Car Talk. I'm Maurice from Jedi Toy Masters. Hope you are doing well. Hope you guys are having a great day, a great week, great month, great summer. It is summertime. We are in the middle of the summer. And wow, we started the summer in an amazing way. We're gearing up to end the summer in an amazing way. And before you know it, it's going to be September, it's going to be fall, and we're going to be treated to even more goodness. And that's what we're going to talk about quickly today on the podcast. If you're listening to this in podcast form, thank you for listening, whether it's on Spotify, Anchor, or Apple Podcast. If you're on Apple Podcasts and you can just give us a little shout out or review, just anything that would really help the podcast, help to get the word out. If you're watching us in video form on YouTube at Jedi Toy Masters on YouTube, thanks for watching, and I hope you can give us a little thumbs up and maybe put a little comment below and let us know what you think of what we're about to talk about. So that's it. And also, we're on Instagram at Jedi Toy Masters. We're a Star Wars family. I'm always checking out everything that's Star Wars related, whether it is the games, the toys, the movies, the TV shows, funny memes, which there are a lot of, and all kinds of stuff. So hope you're having a great summer. And wow, we got off to a really amazing start to the summer because we, as the summer began, we were treated to the Obi Wan Kenobi show. And I know the last time I was on, I talked a little bit about what I thought, and I still kind of stick to my initial reaction to the Obi Wan series. It really felt to me like they really stretched whatever script or treatment they had for the Obi Wan Kenobi film, because originally it was going to be a movie. I think they just added a lot of stuff in there to kind of stretch it out into episodes to make it kind of like a mini series instead. And in doing that, I think the overall story kind of suffered. I think, like I said in my previous kind of review of it or reaction to it, is that I think it should have been a movie. It should have just been a movie. And I get it, Disney is they're a little scared. Let's just be honest with kind of like the reaction that Solo had in theaters, and the fact that the episodic films, the Skywalker saga movies, episodes 7, 8, and 9, although they made tons of money, they were commercially successful. Critically and just, amongst the fan base, they were kind of divisive, and let's be honest, I don't think they were great. Of course, no Star Wars movie could ever live up to what the original trilogy was, for me personally, like what Empire was. And even if you like the prequels and you hold the prequels in high regard, then I'm sure there were things about the sequel trilogy that kind of took you, it was kind of a hard pill to swallow in many ways. And I've been very vocal about it. I don't shy away from my critique of the sequel trilogy. Those are not the movies that I gravitate towards. Like if I feel like watching something Star Wars, or I feel like feeling some nostalgia and watching some Star Wars, like I do not put those movies in there. And funny quick story, about a week ago, I was doing some yard work, and when I come inside, my boys, my little Jedi Toy Masters, they're watching The Rise of Skywalker, and they basically watched it over the course of 2 days. So like they started watching it, and then and then we got busy, so we had to pause it and do some things. And then the next day they picked up where they left off, and they continued watching it. And it's funny because I feel like the first half of the movie they were kind of into it, and they were, just kind of like, Dad, remember this, and remember when this happened, and like, how did the Emperor come back? And they're like asking me. So it's funny that the more they rewatch these movies in their child minds, now they're starting to kind of question what they're seeing. I mean, obviously they think it's really cool, like certain things. They think Kylo Ren is cool, and and certain moments that are funny, they find them funny, of course, and all that kind of stuff. But they're starting to question it, and even like the latter half of the movie, they were kind of in and out. They were not really focused and truly paying attention, and I think that speaks a lot to these movies being a little bit unfocused. I don't know, but I get it. Disney they're scared. They don't want another flop. They don't want to release another Star Wars movie theatrically for it to be kind of like a critical failure. But at the same time, I think, the formula that they originally had was a good formula. They were going to release an episodic movie and then a standalone Star Wars story. And Rogue One really set the bar. I think, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit, the fact that Andor, they just dropped their second trailer, and that's coming in September. And just visually, when you see this trailer, when you see the scope of the story, it really has a lot of connective tissue to Rogue One, and it's visually is like a perfect companion to Rogue One. It's the prequel to Rogue One, which is fantastic, and it looks great. But Obi-Wan, for such a grand character of Obi-Wan Kenobi, we followed his story in the prequels. We followed his story as well and his adventure in the Clone Wars animated show. That, in comparison to what the Obi-Wan Kenobi series was, it really felt like a small story. Like it literally, it felt small. Like I think this really felt like a small story. Like the book of Boba Fett was also a very kind of small, contained story. But I think it kind of gets a pass because it was kind of like a very strange show based on a very obscure, very, very like out there character of Boba Fett that just we don't know anything really about. And what we do know, it kind of, you can get kind of get a pass with Boba Fett. But with Obi-Wan, it's like, we know this character, and we've experienced so much with this character. And again, my boys the other day put on episode 1. Again, I was outside. I come back inside. We have like a sunroom that has a TV in it, and I come back inside, and they're watching episode 1. This was last Friday, and so I kind of sat with them and we finished it. We watched the entirety of episode 1, and I gotta say, like, watching episode 1 again was kind of refreshing. As much as there are prequel haters out there, but episode 1 was always my favorite of the 3 because it I don't know, just visually it feels more cinematic than the other 2, but also just the nostalgia. Like I remember what it was like leading up to that movie and seeing it for the first time in theaters, and watching it over and over again, and that kind of thing. And then just imagining, like, oh my gosh, what's the next story going to be like? Like not knowing what episode 2 and 3 were going to be. Just that made episode 1 special. And I kind of feel the same with episode 7. I think the Force Awakens, the idea of the mystery and the questions that it raised and the kind of cliffhanger ending, really lent itself to kind of feeling really exciting for this new series. And it's just unfortunate that the following 2 movies just kind of fell flat for me. So getting back to Obi-Wan, just feel like if it had been a movie, then you can get away with saying, well, this is just a story. This is a Star Wars story of this turning point for Obi Wan, where he goes from being secluded hermit to, former Jedi on an honorable mission to protect Luke. And when he's ready and when the Force wills it, Skywalker will rise again, kind of thing, and Obi-Wan will be there to help him. And I think that part of the show was interesting. The idea that he starts off as this kind of like in a rut, Groundhog's Day, every day is the same, to he goes from that to he's Obi-Wan Kenobi, man on a mission. And the Vader stuff in between was very, it was good. It was emotional. And I think it was an interesting middle chapter to, you have, you kind of have you have their introduction in episode 1, you see their kind of like mentor, father-son relationship in episode 2. You see their brotherhood and fall of that brotherhood in episode 3. So this kind of filled in a nice little a gap in that you see this like confirmation of like, now Anakin's gone, and Obi-Wan is now convinced that Anakin is gone. He's more machine now, twisted and evil. So Anakin is dead. And Darth Vader killed him. And the fact that those are Vader's words, and not of his own, kind of gives it a nice little, it's a nice little period there, so that when we see them in episode 4, it makes kind of more sense that that he's not fighting Anakin anymore. He's fighting Darth Vader. And and there's flaws in that as well, because it's like, why would he let him live and all that stuff. So I mean, I'm retreading a lot here, because I know that there's, the show's been out already, and there's been so much talk and criticism of the show, and also praise of the show. I think this was, in the Book of Boba Fett was the first time that I really kind of noticed how shooting these shows in the volume could be a good thing, because they get to produce these shows a lot easier, and they look great, and it looks way better than green screen. But at the same time, I think the flaw is that it also, you can see sometimes how it makes the show seem small. It makes the world seem small. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I noticed it a lot in Obi-Wan. Like the show was really presented in a way. There's certain moments in the show that really look like we're watching it. We're looking at it through a little box. Like we're just watching it really small. Like this felt very TV in comparison to like The Mandalorian. This felt smaller for some reason. And even though there's some nice wide shots in there, there's nice, on location shots that you can tell that they were like outdoors on location. The stuff that you can tell that was shot in the volume just seems I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but it just seems small. It seems like a very small TV. It kind of yells at us as the audience, you're watching a TV show. This is a small story. And I feel like Obi-Wan deserves better than that. So again, it should have been a movie. Would I say this was a bad show? I don't think this was a bad show. For those people out there, fans, or people that criticize this and says it was horrible, that this was awful. I don't think it was awful. I don't think it was horrible. I mean, like, listen, at the end of the day, we have to reconcile the fact that George Lucas sold Lucasfilm to Disney. Now Disney can do whatever they want with Star Wars. And as much as there's people out there with all their theories and their conspiracy theories that, you know, certain people are trying to ruin Star Wars and this and that. At the end of the day, they're trying to make Star Wars content so that they can make money. And they know that the more Star Wars content they make, the more money they can make. And so they would be stupid to purposely make awful content. So I think they're trying to do the best they can. And I just think that the only really major flaw that I find is that it seems that in certain areas, they're not planning out the stories ahead of time, and they're not planning them out properly. They're just kind of going with every step. They're like literally paving the ground as they're walking on it, which I think is, they shouldn't be doing that. And another flaw is just the fact that I don't know, like I feel like they've not been able to really crack down. I think having Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, that was like a miracle and a beautiful union of two creative people that love Star Wars, that have really strong connections to Star Wars and to the origins of Star Wars and to George Lucas himself, that came together and are really able to crank out good Star Wars stories. Not 100% perfectly all the time, because obviously nobody's perfect. I mean, even George Lucas's ideas, to some degree, some of his ideas were kind of wacky. But anyway, I feel like they're starting to really understand like what kind of creatives we need to be in this process, and what we need to do to like really create good Star Wars content. So Andor is a perfect example of that. I think the fact that it is connected to probably the best Star Wars film that Disney has ever made. Rogue One, I think, is, of all the Disney Star Wars films, Rogue One is the best. And this show, from just looking at the trailer and looking at the scope of it, the scope of the story, the production value of the story, man, you can see why it's taken so long for this show to come out. Because I remember seeing photos and stuff of like sets being built and them talking about the show's in production or the show wrapped, and and this was like such a long time ago. And granted, the pandemic hit and all that stuff, but man, you can see why it took so long to craft this show. And the fact that they realized very quickly this should be 2 seasons. And I hope it's only 2 seasons. Like, I hope they don't try to stretch it out and make more of it just to juice it for as much as they can. I hope they're smart enough to say, no, it's going to be 2 seasons and it's going to flow right into Rogue One. Like, I think that would be amazing. The trailer looks amazing. The visuals look amazing. Man, to be honest, I was very kind of weary about why are we getting an Andor show? Like, what is the deal with this character? But it's more than just Andor. I think Andor is just the focus point so that we can really see the bigger picture and see everything that's happening. And I think it's also a Mon Mothma story. It's a Saw Gerrera story. It's an origin story for the rebellion. I'm excited to see this. I'm excited to see where we go with this and the type of story that they're going to tell. I like the idea that we don't have to think about Boba Fett or the Mandalorian or the Skywalkers. We get to really see, for those of you watching, I had to switch the camera position. Sorry about that. For those of you listening, then just continue to listen on. But I'm excited to see that this kind of corner of the Star Wars universe, and just the focus that's going to be on the rebellion and the Empire, and just kind of like an espionage, just mystery thriller. This is going to be kind of like the Civil War, the Captain America Civil War, the Captain America Winter Soldier of Star Wars. I think that's exciting. I can't wait to see it. And also, this really seems like it I don't know if it will, but it could have some connective tissue to the animated show Star Wars Rebels, because it also has to do a lot with the rebellion. Now we'll see what happens between season 1 and season 2 of this show, because season 1 seems to be very far removed from Rogue One, because remember, Mon Mothma eventually becomes like the short-haired Rebel Alliance leader, and here she's still not that yet. So we'll see, like, if there's going to be a time jump between season 1 and season 2. We'll see if season 2, if it jumps ahead, if that means that it's going to like tell more of a story based on the timeline of Star Wars Rebels and then lead into Rogue One, because I think the way Star Wars Rebels ends, the series ends around the time that maybe like the Rogue One time, I think, or shortly before Rogue One, or because, you know, in Rogue One you hear that Hera Syndulla is like there, you know, she's part of that battle and all that stuff. So it's definitely after Star Wars Rebels. So it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see it. Like it just looks really cool, and I don't want to fanboy and overhype it, but you know, it just looks really exciting. And then the other thing too is that's September. We're gonna get the Bad Batch possibly in August, like later this month, I think, or after Andor. I don't, if I remember correctly, like I remember seeing some teaser for Bad Batch that said either August or October, if I remember correctly. But like, we got the Bad Batch like also in, you know, this year, you know, and that's exciting, because Bad Batch is almost like also like is like a precursor to Andor and Rogue One. Bad Batch takes place like, you know, during that time period where the Empire is starting to really take hold. And we see that in the beginning, at least in the trailer, we see that the Andor is going to touch a little bit on that time period as well. So like Andor, during the beginning of Andor, or maybe during the flashbacks that we might see in Andor, this is the time period when the Bad Batch is out there. So that's kind of exciting too, that all that kind of connects, and there's stuff that, certain stories that might intertwine, you know, the possibility of that is really cool. So yeah, you know, we had Obi Wan, we had Boba Fett, we had Obi Wan. We're gonna have Bad Batch, we're gonna have Andor, and that's, man, what a way to close out 2022 with just this time period in Star Wars between Episode 3 and Episode 4. Like, what a great time to focus on. You know, I think that it's just funny that the two time periods that we're really focusing on story-wise is, you know, after Episode 3, before Episode 4, that time period. And then, you know, like The Mandalorian and the Ahsoka show is like, and I think Rogue Squadron, all that is going to be focusing on after Return of the Jedi, but before The Force Awakens. So that's going to be really, that's interesting. It's pretty obvious that one thing that Disney is doing is, or that they should do, and they probably will do, is they're kind of rewriting history in a way, because this is going to really allow them to right some wrongs and kind of write the stories leading up to the sequel trilogy in a way that will validate the sequel trilogy more, or enhance the viewing of the sequel trilogy, which is kind of a cop-out in a way. But let's remember, I mean, George Lucas did this with the prequels. I mean, he used the fact that the original trilogy exists to go back and write the prequels and have them connect to the original trilogy and change elements of the original trilogy with the prequels, kind of rewriting certain things, you know, like things with the Emperor and Force Ghost Anakin, and, you know, and certain things like that. So it's going to be interesting. I'm excited. So guys, what do you think? Comment below and let me know. Like and subscribe. But until next time, guys, check out some of our other videos, and I hope you have a great summer. And remember,
The Force will be with you, always.